कितने पैसे चाहिए?
पैसा नहीं, इज्जत। मोहल्ले के चिरकुट लौंडे हरा रहे हैं फैंटेसी स्पोर्ट्स में। आप एक्सपर्ट हो, सिखाओ।
सिखाऊंगा तो जाने दोगे?
फैंटेसी स्पोर्ट्स का असली अखाड़ा।
इस गेम में वित्तीय जोखिम के तत्व हैं और इसकी लत लग सकती है। कृपया जिम्मेदारी से और अपने जोखिम पर खेलें।
Hello and welcome to the live for the Sri Lanka versus India first T20I. And here we are. We have Mohit Shah and Annesha Ghosh as our experts for this series. And we begin on a note that India has won the toss and they have elected to bat first in this first T20I in Dambulla. And first thoughts, I'll just bring my experts into this conversation and get to the match. Mohit, how excited are you to watch the Indian team again back in action after a while? I mean, it's been a while since the World Cup.
Yeah, extremely excited because like you rightly said, it's been a very long time and it's been even longer since they've played the T20 format. And it's actually in the T20 format that we have a lot of major tournaments coming up over the next 7-8 months. So yeah, really exciting to see this Indian team and also to see how Harmanpreet Kaur leads the team after being India's all-format captain. So yeah, plenty to look forward to today.
Rightly said, Mohit. Harmanpreet Kaur has been named the captain of the Indian team. I'll bring in Annesha here. Annesha, was this then an obvious choice looking at the next few years? And yes, we all know Harman has done it in the ODI and T20 format, but is she the right call according to you, keeping in mind the future?
Well, if you look at the pecking order of handing over the captaincy reins, she was obviously the second in line. There was some chatter around whether the captaincy should be split, with the ODI captaincy being handed to Smriti Mandana. But I think keeping in mind that the team would want some unity in place in terms of their leadership group as well, I think that's what dictated the decision in terms of making sure that Harmanpreet is the all formats captain, at least in white ball cricket. We do not know what the captaincy situation is with the red ball format or the longest format. Probably we'll get to know when India play a test match again. But from the looks of it, it looks like Harmanpreet is going to be the all formats captain for a while now, and probably the right decision for the time being. And I'm sure Smriti will get her opportunity. She has done well in the limited chances she's gotten to stand in Harmanpreet's stead at times. And even during the test match against Australia, we saw her do a decent job marshalling her resources, managing the field in the absence of Mithali Raj when she was off the field for a brief period of time. But looking at the major events calendar, given we have two T20I centric tournaments coming up, the Commonwealth Games, and followed by the South Africa T20 World Cup next year, probably the right decision to make sure that the eye is on the prize and not so much on background chatter like whether there should be two leaders. Right now, the focus is on making sure Harmanpreet Kaur is the leader, the face of the team, and she steers India ahead in what is going to be a major, major season.
Very rightly said. I'll touch upon the thing that both of you have spoken of, that there is a lot of T20 competitions heading into the this next 12 months. We have the Commonwealth game in England. We also have the World Cup in South Africa. Mohit, what does the Indian team need to do? We have seen them do so well in the T20 format. They did well in the West Indies World Cup in 2018. They did well in the Australia World Cup, but you could sense that this team has some issues here and there, which kind of, comes in front of everybody during the key matches. What do you think India should be doing heading into the Commonwealth Games and the World Cup next year?
Yeah, I think there are more than a few issues because like you said, they did really well in the 2020 T20 World Cup going all the way till the final. But since then, like they've played 10 T20Is and won only 2 of them and lost 7. So that doesn't really make for great reading. And I think the problems mainly are their middle order batting, or rather lower middle order batting, because they've struggled with that number 5, 6, 7 position for a long time now. So it's the death batting, or like the end overs batting and the end overs bowling, which is the biggest problem for India, because the fast bowlers haven't really gotten a long run, and Jhulan Goswami's retired, Shikha Pandey is not here. So these are the two main problems according to me, like trying to up the scoring rate in the last 7-8 overs and trying to contain the scoring rate in the last 5 overs while bowling. So I think these are probably the two major areas that India would be looking to target in the lead up to the Commonwealth Games and try to find solutions for over the course of this series.
Speaking of the middle order, which Mohit rightly pointed out, we say, I'll just read out the team for you, the playing 11. Smriti Mandhana is there, Shafali Verma is there, S. Meghna. How exciting is it to watch her? We saw her during the Women's T20 Challenge. That was an excellent innings she played. There is Jemimah Rodrigues. She is back in the team. Harmanpreet Kaur at 5. There is Richa Ghosh. So the batting order, there is a good, solid batting order right there. But Annesha, did you expect Yastika to be there in the middle order or maybe play a different role? What did you expect? She's not in the playing 11, but she was also named the wicketkeeper of this side. So there are a little bit of mixed signals here. What do you sense from that?
Well, we knew going by the look of the squad we had heading into this series that there would have been some competition for those middle order slots. I'm not too surprised that Yastika has been left out in favor of both Jemimah Rodrigues and S. Meghna coming into the 11 because we saw both of them perform the way they did at the Women's T20 Challenge for Trailblazers. They had an excellent partnership in that game. They won against most likely Harmanpreet's team. They did not make the finals of the tournament, but it was an emphatic statement from both Jemimah Rodrigues and S. Meghna because it was S. Meghna's debut, mind you, that particular innings, and Jemimah Rodrigues on her part had to make sure that she did not squander yet another opportunity because all the eyes were on her. The selectors were at the MCA Stadium in Pune, so I'm not really too surprised that Yastika Bhatia has been left out because while she is a key cog in India's ODI wheel, there are alternatives to India at their disposal at the moment in the form of S. Meghna given. And I'm glad that S. Meghna has been given the opportunity. She has been back to come ahead of Yastika Bhatia in the pecking order. So Yastika Bhatia should not be disheartened at the fact that she's been left out of the first T20I's lineup. She's very much, I'm pretty sure she's very much in the team's plan as far as the ODIs are concerned, and probably we'll get to see her at some point in the T20I leg two should India lose a game or two early on and they head into that zone of making, wholesale changes of sorts. But right now, I think this is a decent looking lineup that India have gone ahead with, and by far the most prudent one that they could have picked.
Before I move to talking about Sri Lanka, I just have one more point for Mohit. Mohit, Jemimah bats at 4 in this team, as far as I can see. S. Meghna is at 3. We have a couple of top order players because I don't think moving Shafali is the right thing to do anyway. So we have 4 top order players in the top 4 now. So does that create an issue, and does that create an issue with Harman where Harman bats? Because ideally we have seen Harman when she comes out in the 10th or the 11th over, it's really good. She's good against spin. She can attack them and finish well in the death over. Is that a problem? Do you sense it?
I think that's a problem, but a solution can be easily found for it because like we've seen in the overseas T20 leagues or even in the men's IPL, like a lot of teams are very flexible with their batting orders and then they insert players based on the number of overs that are left. So like you rightly pointed out, like though Harman might be slated to bat at number 5, she's fully capable of batting at number 3. Like we saw in the last T20I versus New Zealand, Harman batted at 3 and Meghna batted at 4. So the good thing about having all 3 of Harman, Meghna and Jemimah is that all 3 of them are equally capable of batting at number 3, 4 or 5 in the case of Harman and Jemimah. So I think like based on the bowlers that are in operation, the matchups and how the team is doing on the day, I think they can easily flip around those 3 and keep a dynamic middle order because especially against a team like Sri Lanka, which has a very heavy spin attack, I think Harman might be tempted to bat at number 3 because she's had a lot of success batting at number 3 and 4 in this format. She likes batting higher up the order. And similarly, if you lose a wicket early, S. Meghna can always come in at number 3. So I think they'll be flexible with the entry points of these 3 batters, and having 3 versatile batters in the middle order who are extremely good at running between the wickets too is a big advantage for India.
Very rightly said. And Harman, talking about Harman, promoting herself. She did that in the final of Women's T20 Challenge, and we saw what she can do if she is given that role. She plays in the top order. But I think, as I said, as we discussed, they have a very solid team. It's just about the cards falling into the right place at the right time. Moving ahead, Annesha, what do you expect from this Sri Lankan team? They have lost the series against Pakistan recently. They did not have a lot of international cricket in the last 2-3 years, but finally the cricket is back for them and in their own country. What do you see? What do you expect from them in this series?
I'm pretty certain that Chamari Athapattu is going to make sure that the team approaches this particular series as a fresh start. They may have not done well in that Pakistan tour. They were clean swept in the T20I leg of the tour, and they went on to lose the ODI series 2-1. But given the immensity of the season ahead, the Commonwealth Games in specific, she would want her players to be in a fresh state of mind and ensure that whatever has happened in the recent past is behind them, and the team is focused on making sure that the focus is on the prize that lies ahead of them. In terms of the overall approach of the team, there were some positives that they had on the Pakistan tour, and I'm pretty certain that the team management, the think tank, would want to invest some time and thought on those positives like Kavisha Dulhari's performance, Harshita Madhavi's performance, Oshadi Ranasinghe, the off spinner, she was exceedingly well, and Chamari Athapattu did find form herself towards the closing end of that tour. So all those positives, that's something they would want to crystallize and bear in mind, and also implement in their performances come this series starting today. So I'm pretty certain they're going to approach this as something they've got to start from scratch, and that's probably the best way to go about it, because there's no point crying over spilt milk. This is a new series, and they have had decent success in patches against a side like India. So they are going to look back, on those, final over finishes that they have ended up prevailing, ended up on the winning sides, and hark back on those memories, look back on those memories, and try and take some succor, try and take some inspiration, and bring all of that out on the field today.
What we saw during the Pakistan-Sri Lanka series was, if you look at the scorecards, you can figure out that batting has been a bit of an issue with Sri Lanka in the last few days, especially in terms of scoring runs quickly, getting the bigger totals. Their bowling unit is very good. They can do and especially in these conditions, these are their home conditions, they could do really well, which could be a challenge for India. But Mohit, I have to bring you in this conversation. What does the Sri Lankan batting unit need to do? I know the simple thing would be to support their captain and come up with bigger scores. But is there a proper solution? Is there one solution for them heading into the Commonwealth game and the World Cup, because they are going to be part of those tournaments as well?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And it was a question which was actually put to Chamari Athapattu as well in the pre-series presser. And she answered it pretty beautifully. She said that every player has to play to their strength. So for somebody like Chamari, it's the big hitting and finding the boundary regularly. Whereas for somebody like Harshita Madhavi, it's running hard between the wickets, finding the gaps, rotating the strike. So I think as long as the players play to their strengths and play the way they play in the domestic structure in Sri Lanka, they should be able to do well. We also need to keep in mind the kind of pitches and conditions that were on offer in the Pakistan series. The pitches there were assisting the bowlers a fair bit. They were very slow and low pitches. And a lot of the batters in the Sri Lankan team aren't very comfortable playing on those kinds of pitches, which is something Chamari spoke about as well. So I think Dambulla again is a ground where conditions play a big factor. It's known for being very windy. The wind has always played a big factor there, and Sri Lanka have played a fair bit at the stadium. So that is one advantage that they have. And I think bowling first definitely plays into their hands, because like you said, that is their strength. And if they can take a couple of wickets early, or even 3 wickets in the power play, and restrict India to a score of 130 or 140, they do have the batting to chase it down. And I think maybe even if Sri Lanka would have won the toss, they probably would have opted to bowl first, because bowling is their strength, and that gives them the best chance of coming into the contest early and having a say.
Speaking of the match, it has already started, and the first over is done. India is 5 for no loss. Dambola, you spoke about Mohit once, that Dambola, it's a windy place. The wicket can be slightly slow. We don't know what to exactly expect. But speaking about scores, Annesha, what should be an ideal score for India in this game, according to you? I don't know whether you have checked the pitch that well or not, but still, just an idea that how much should be a good enough score in front of the Sri Lankan team.
Yeah, as Mohit rightly alluded to earlier in this conversation, the pitches in Sri Lanka you don't expect to be, racy, bouncy tracks, of course. But India have got to bear in mind that while Sri Lanka are a lower-ranked team, and they might carry that perception of being a relatively weak side to deal with, uh, India should approach this series, the T20I leg of the tour, as as an opportunity, as a dress rehearsal for the Commonwealth Games. So they should try to maximize their resources, maximize their potential in every single department. So looking at a pass score for this series, if you're just talking about winning, getting those wins on the board, I think 150 odd would be, something that could be formidable, would challenge the Sri Lankan team. But if they really want to harbor hopes of putting up a good fight at the Commonwealth Games, they should consistently need to get scores in excess of 160, 165, because only then will you get into that mindset of facing the likes of Australia, New Zealand, so on and so forth, South Africa in that big ticket tournament. So right now, while 150 odd may be formidable for to put up a challenge against a side like Sri Lanka, the focus should be on making sure that they push the envelope as much as possible and get closer to that 160, 170 mark as consistently as possible.
Which would be one bowler that both of you will be watching out for? And if there is one bowler in the Sri Lankan team that India should be watching out for, who would that be? I'll first ask this to Mohit and then we'll go back to Annesha.
Yeah, I think my pick would be Oshadi Ranasinghe because she was the leading wicket taker for Sri Lanka in the series against Pakistan. She's a vastly experienced off spinner, has been around for a very long time. And you always know what you will get with a player like Oshadi Ranasinghe. She always bowls a very disciplined line and length. She's now at a stage and age where she knows her game inside out. So she doesn't try to do anything too fancy, sticks to the basics, keeps it simple. She generally like bowls in the power play and is very good with the new ball, and also had a fair bit of success against Pakistan both in the T20Is and ODIs while bowling with the new ball. Sri Lanka have not given the new ball to her today, so I'm guessing they want her to control the middle overs and probably bowl at the end too. So I think how India negotiate her will be crucial in this match.
Do you have a different name in your mind, Annesha, or is it the same?
Yeah, I mean, Udeshika Prabodhani is another name that comes to mind. Aside from Oshadi Ranasinghe, Udeshika, the left armour, has been a veteran in the Sri Lankan side, has really done well. She was on the verge of calling time on her international career during the T20 World Cup, but the SLC and even the co-group, including Chamari Atabatu, sort of informally, I mean, it never came out to the media, but it is a known fact that, there was some request that went out to Udeshika Prabodhani to make sure that she extends her career a little bit, because their pace bowling reserves are not as deep or strong as some of the other teams. So I'm looking forward to watching how Udeshika Prabodhani performs in this series. And given left arm pace is a relatively unknown, continues to be a relatively unknown element in women's cricket even now. You have the likes of Tash Farrant, in the England side, but there is not a lot of left arm pacers that India get to face on a regular basis, even in the players in the domestic ranks. So I'm looking forward to seeing Udeshika perform well, because she like Oshadi Ranasinghe, she likes keeping it disciplined, nothing fancy, bowl wicket to wicket, and at times get the ball to move in and away, just so deftly to get the wicket, catch the batter plumb in front or on the back foot. So Udeshika Prabodhani would be my name, my second name, and next Oshadi is.
Before we head into on the next topic, I would just like to see the playing 11s of this match. We've discussed the Indian 11 already, and that's the 11 for both the teams here. We see fairly experienced Indian team, I would say. In this format, it would be obviously the Smriti, Shafali, Esmina, Jamima Rodriguez, a solid batting unit. Let's just focus on their batting unit because they're batting already now. Shafali has hit a boundary, as I've been told. And how much is this partnership between Shafali and Mandhana? And important in T20 cricket, we all know how it's important for the openers to do well. There are stats to show that the team that always does well has a very solid top order in T20 cricket. How important is it? And their combination and the way they play, it's kind of it just sings so well. There's one who is a power hitter, one who can play a role of an anchor. What do you think about this opening partnership, Mohit?
Yeah, I think it's a great opening partnership. They've had a lot of success both in the T20I format and in the ODI format as an opening partnership. I think they've gotten off to a fine start today. Shafali's already hit in a couple of boundaries. Smriti's also looking solid so far. So, yeah, and for a team like India, the longer the openers bat, the better it is because we have players like Harman, Richa, Pooja Vastrakar, even S. Meghna for that matter, who can come and hit from ball one, especially Richa, Meghna, and Pooja Vastrakar. So if the openers bat for 8-10 overs, like I wouldn't be surprised if they completely flip the batting order around and start pushing Harman and Pooja Vastrakar up, because that is what we saw in the women's T20 challenge as well. And that I think is one aspect of Harmanpreet's captaincy that stands out. She's very flexible and not rigid at all. So if a team is being captained by her, you can always expect the batting order to be very dynamic and flexible and guided by the match situations rather than players only being asked to bat in a particular position all the time.
That's pretty correct. That Harman as a captain is quite proactive, and we have seen that whenever she has captained the Indian team or whenever she has captained Supernovas, she's very proactive as far as her captaincy is concerned. But before we wrap up, I will just ask one question to both of you. What is the score that you guys think India can make and could be good? We have talked about it, but just last final predictions from both you and Annesha.
I think going by the start India have got in this game, they should get to that 170 mark because they have the luxury to go all guns blazing from the get-go, which Shafali Verma is trying to do at the moment. But a lot of the chances of India getting to that mark would also depend on how Smriti Mandhana functions at the other end, whilst Shafali Verma has started going all guns blazing.
The moment I think we jinxed it. We kind of jinxed it. Smriti's gone for, I think, for 5 or 6. She's dismissed. So the opening partnership did not last long. But I think S. Meghna is walking out to bat next. But yeah, Annesha, you can go ahead with your point.
Right. So that's what, right? So now somebody like an S. Meghna walks in and takes charge. And I'm pretty sure that while she has been given the license to, step on the gas from the get-go, she will maneuver the innings, approach it, she's malleable. We've seen that in her domestic performances and also at the Women's T20 Challenge. She was given the freedom to, function at top gear from the get-go. And while she has the opportunity to do that, given there has been an early dismissal and there's not much of a foundation that has been laid by the openers, she would want to be a bit more circumspect and then step on the gas once the partnership will have, gotten to that 50 to 60 run mark. There are so many batting options in this lineup, so I'm pretty still very certain that they would be looking to get in excess of 160 at the very least.
And as you were talking about S. Meghna so passionately, and I wanted to say she's a good player of spin, but now she's dismissed for a first ball duck. India are in a bit of trouble. 17 for 2. Annesha, do you want to change your numbers? You got last one chance. 17 for 2.
I shouldn't be buying a lottery today for sure because my predictions are all over the place. Not a great day for me or S. Meghna, it turns out. But okay, let's get to that 150 run mark. If they cannot, look, batting collapses are not anything new to this Indian lineup, mind you. They have collapsed since time immemorial. So it has become a bit of a second nature to them. Now that they have more ammunition in their batting resources, they should be more hopeful and still approach this with some with some positivity, but not being reckless at the expense, mind you. And here is another great opportunity for somebody like Jemima Rodrigues, because it's very similar to that innings of 25 odd runs she played in one of the women's T20 challenge games where wickets kept tumbling around her and she didn't have many partners to anchor her role around or play the pivot around. So here maybe she could dig her heels in and then let Harmanpreet Kaur come in. But if Harmanpreet comes into bat right now, the stage is set for her. She's scratchy up top. She likes to take her time, get her eye in. She is not somebody who will fire from ball number one. So maybe a chance for Harmanpreet to promote herself up the order and make sure that the foundation is laid and the youngsters can then come in and steer the innings ahead.
Just to cut you there, your wishes have come true. Harman has walked out at number 4 and Jimmy has been pushed to, I'm guessing, the number 5. Let's see how that goes. Mohit, one number from your end, please. What would that be now that you have assessed it a little bit more than we started when we started this question? It's 18 for 2. What do you think India should be looking on this surface?
Yeah, see, like the way Sri Lankan pitches are, 170 is actually very high to aim for because it doesn't get scored all that often. We've spoken about how the Sri Lankan bowling attack's very good. It's Ranasinghe who's again done the job in the power play, 2 wickets in 2 balls in her very first over. But I think as long as India aim for 140, they'll be fine. This is a great opportunity for Shafali Verma though to show that she can play in different gears because India have lost 2 quick wickets. Now is the chance for her to bat without taking too much of a risk for the next 8-10 overs. And then if India are in a good position, go for the big hits because it's something that she has struggled with in the past to find the right balance between going all out and playing risk-free cricket, but still scoring at a good strike rate. So I think we know what Harman will do here. She will take her time to get her eye in, like Annesha said, and then start targeting the spinners with her sweeps. But yeah, I think this is a great opportunity for Shafali Verma, and I think 140 is something that India can target and will definitely be a competitive total on this pitch.
India are 19 for 2 at the end of 4 overs, but the match will go on and we will be back for a mid-show. Till then, stay tuned to Women's Cricket Zone for all the updates on women's cricket and the current series between Sri Lanka and India. Thank you, everybody.
ये फटका अब सीख तो गए, अब तो जाने दो मुझे।
ठहर जाइए, कोई प्रॉब्लम हो गई तो कहाँ ढूंढेंगे आपको?
फैंटेसी अखाड़ा का 24/7 कस्टमर सर्विस है, आपकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करवा देंगे।
कल जाने देंगे।
फैंटेसी स्पोर्ट्स का असली अखाड़ा।
इस गेम में वित्तीय जोखिम के तत्व हैं और इसकी लत लग सकती है। कृपया जिम्मेदारी से और अपने जोखिम पर खेलें।